My name is Emily. I currently live in a two-generation house with my husband Kevin, our child, and my husband's parents. This story is about when we started living in this house before our child was born. This house was built after we got married. Before we got married, my parents-in-laws were renting a house and living with my sister-in-laws. Their house was built when we got married, and they started to live under the same roof with my husband and I, who were living separately. The problem was my husband's sister, who was single. She didn't like us living together in the new house, and she harassed us in different ways, which really annoys me now that I remember it. As soon as she moved in, she made sarcastic comments to us.
I wonder why they didn't ask me anything about how I like being built. I can't even believe that you guys took the best room. What's going on here?
We're sharing the room, though. It's obvious, but this house isn't just for you, sis.
As they ended up arguing like this, I tried to calm the situation down gently by saying, well, it's okay. She won't be here forever anyway. However, she seemed to want to have this house for herself in the future and said something concerning.
Yes, that's right. I don't want you to live here for many years.
She seemed to want to kick us out. She liked this new house very much, and she thought that I would leave if she made me uncomfortable, apparently. She was reckless with money and spent her salary only on herself, never contributing to the household. When I asked her to pay for food, she said,
What? Who do you think you are? There's no way I'm being asked to pay for food by a freeloader. You shouldn't take such a cavalier attitude.
She got so mad. My husband also went nuts and said,
Hey, sis. If you don't stop it, I'll kick you out. You didn't even pay for this house.
It looked like they were going to grab and pull, so I went between and said, well, we are also causing her trouble anyway. I was trying to calm them down. Anyway, she kept harassing me and giving me nasty words, but I suffered and lived with it. I also felt sorry for her that she ended up living with us in our new home. She became more and more aggressive and said,
Emily, I think you should start paying the rent by now.
So I just shrugged it off. You're joking again, but she said,
What? You even asked me for food expenses when you are just a freeloader? Then you're living here for free? Don't think I'll always be so lenient on you. If you don't pay, you'll have to work hard.
She gave me nasty words relentlessly. If my husband was there, he would protect me and say, hey, sis. Stop it. If you say that again, I'll kick you out. But when he wasn't there, there was nothing I could do. Well, I was a little worried that I was making her uncomfortable, living with a stranger, so I didn't bite back at her and accept her anger. Of course, it was frustrating, but it was hard to talk back when I thought about what I would have done if I was in her shoes. Imagine that if I was living with my parents, then after my brother got married, we all lived on the same roof even with my brother's wife, which is kinda annoying, I understand that. Besides, my sister-in-law seemed to like the new house, so I was patient and hoped that we could live happily while we were together at least. After living like that for about 1.5 years, a turning point arrived. My sister-in-law seemed to be getting married to the man she was dating, and he came to our house to introduce himself. She showed off the new house to her boyfriend and, for some reason, proudly said that they could live here after they got married. That night, she made us sit down with my in-laws and began to talk. She said,
As I said during the day, in this gender-free era, it doesn't matter whether you are the eldest son. When we get married, I, the eldest daughter, will take over this house. I'll give you time until we get married, so please go wherever you like.
I had a feeling that such a day would come and I regretted that we didn't mention that earlier. But I was very shocked when she talked to us and I couldn't say anything. I was angry with her attitude, and to be honest, I didn't like her, but when I thought that what she said might make sense, I was nodding my head, unable to say anything. She said,
Say something if you want to whine about something, speak up. Also, I'd at least like to hear you thank me for letting you live here all this time.
I'm sorry for the inconvenience we had caused and thank you for everything, I apologized, swinging her around before we moved in together. Then my husband said,
You don't have to apologize to someone like her. Also, what's the matter with being the eldest daughter? What rights do you have? I'm the eldest son.
She showed no sign of backing off and said,
"You're an idiot. That's not what I meant. I'm the eldest child, the firstborn, so you guys are the next. Everything depends on my intent. Too bad."
"It's going to be an epic succession quarrel." It wasn't. It didn't happen at all. There was no way it could happen in the first place. My mother-in-law, who had been listening silently, opened her mouth and said in an apologetic tone,
"You know, this house is registered in the joint name of a couple, Kevin and Emily. So it's not ours for you to inherit."
My sister-in-law, who can only think about living here, said,
"Liar, you guys bought it with Dad's retirement money, didn't you? I know you paid into someone's account. I can't blame you for wanting to give it to your eldest son, because that's the way you used to think, but at this moment, I'm the best."
She thoroughly expressed her intention to continue staying in this house. Then my father-in-law, who was also apologetic, said,
"No, Kevin and Emily paid most of the money. We just gave a little in the form of a gift before death."
Upon hearing this, my sister-in-law put aside the question of the house and said,
"That's not fair. You gave money to Kevin only."
And reacted to the word, "a gift before death." She started to go nuts even more. Then he was like, "Oh dear," and said,
"You frequently borrowed money from us for travel or because you were broke. I've got your IOU and you might have written it at random, but if you put it all together, it's more than I gave to Kevin. Since you're the first child, I'll give you more than the amount of the gift before death than the money for the eldest son. That should clear that IOU."
In the face of facts that only she finds hard to accept, and said,
"Are you kidding me? Kevin gets the money and I end up with no debt. Just because he's the eldest son, it doesn't make any sense. It's just too old-fashioned."
She was whining. My husband lost his patience with this arrogant lady, who never listened to him, and exploded.
Sis, the only reason why Emily has been quiet and not resisted you all this time is because we got married and then made you move out of the previous house all of a sudden. Also, it's bad enough that we only kicked you out. I just let you stay here to live with us for a while until you could save enough money to move out.
I also said, "I'm really sorry for making you move in and out due to our own circumstances." Kevin said he wanted to live with his parents in the new house when the house was built. I didn't mean to hide who this house is under, though. I just assumed that you would be supposed to leave, so I kept quiet. We were fighting a winning battle from the start. I apologized to her in a mildly sarcastic way. Then, my husband told her straight out what I had been reluctant to say.
"Well, sis, I would like you to move out when you get married. We want to have children soon. Your room is for our children we are planning to have. Of course, we won't let you and your husband live in our house."
She cried out.
"No way. This is my house. I'm going to live with him, so you guys can leave."
We could not have a discussion with her, who was so emotional. After we told her what the fact was, we left the table and left my parents-in-laws in charge. After that, my sister-in-law did not tell us directly, but tried to get my parents-in-law on her side. She was planning this and that, but it was a battle that she had already lost from the start. She left for a new life with her husband after she got married. Apparently, her husband is the second son, with the eldest son as the heir. While he is free, the house where he lives is something he has to deal with. She proposed that they live together in a new house, and he felt attracted by the fact that it would cost no money. Then they started dating with a view to getting married. I understood the reason for my sister-in-law's abnormal obsession was there, but it didn't matter. It seems that her husband, who had been thinking about moving in with her, hadn't saved up the money either. He no longer had a house to live in and spent money that he wasn't supposed to spend. They have been forced to rent for a while. The children's room is now well used by our children. My parents-in-law are in good health. If anything happens to my sister-in-law, there is no longer a place for her to return to at all.